Alrighty, we are officially on the air. Hello, everyone, and welcome. We're going to go ahead and start our webinar here at edweb.net. I hope everybody can hear us okay. We'll do a quick sound check to make sure everybody can hear me okay. Emily, you want to say something just to make sure we have an audio check?
Hello, everyone. Hope you all can hear me great.
Excellent. All right, we have attendees from Alabama, Virginia, all over. Excellent. All right, so as we get started, we'll do a very brief introduction before we get going into the meat and potatoes. Our EdWeb tech team is going to be checking in on the attendee chat from time to time. If you have any technical issues, just make sure to drop them a line there. They are monitoring and they'll be able to help you out. So as we get started, welcome. I hope everybody's had a lovely Monday so far. My name is Mario Lacerda. I'll be your host for the afternoon. We are here to talk about how video helps teach students. So without too much further ado, welcome teachers, educators, babysitters, facilitators. You are all welcome here. You know the plight of keeping students engaged and how difficult that can be sometimes. And video is absolutely a way in which we can easily get students engaged when they're talking about something that is actively moving forward and that they are engaged in. And we're going to talk about how mysimpleshow helps facilitate that. Introducing very briefly, as I said, my name is Mario Lacerda. I'm here in Miami, Florida. So hello, I see some people from Fort Lauderdale. Hello from down the street. And I'm here with Emily Cleary, who is a former educator as well as content marketing manager at mysimpleshow. And you can follow her on Twitter at mysimpleshow, at mysimpleshow. A little bit about the EdLove community. You can join them. You can go visit them at edweb.net/video. You can get other community resources for free, online discussions, teacher resources, quizzes for CE certificates. We are going to talk about certificates in just a little bit. Don't worry about that. I know a lot of you are here for those questions. So yeah, the recordings, pretty much everything is going to be available after the call. So you definitely should be, you should definitely be checking them out at their website. To get your CE certificate, I know a lot of you are waiting for the slide. You will be emailed your CE certificate the next business day after this Ed webinar if you have pre-registered with your email address before logging in and you've logged in today with your email address even if you switch to your phone. So next business day should be tomorrow at the absolute latest. Wednesday you should be receiving this. If you're watching this as a recording, you can take the CE quiz to earn your certificate by joining the community at edweb.net/video. and go to the Ed Webinar archives and select the Ed Webinar you watched. Very simple, very easy. We get everybody going. So a little bit about mysimpleshow. What we're going to be talking about is mysimpleshow is an online do-it-yourself explainer video creation tool perfect for educators. And to go off script for a second here, mysimpleshow really is a way to engage students at your levels, at whatever level you have available to them, whether it's middle school or high school or something else. It's a tool that enables them to take what is interesting to them at heart and really make it simple and create a cool video that they can be proud of and that you can be proud of. And I know that difficulty, that gap between what they want to do and what educators want to do is always disparaging, and mysimpleshow really closes that gap so that they can do something that is interesting for them and also is beneficial for you. Obviously, they're going to want to make videos on fidget spinners, and that's not necessarily what we're all about, but you know, that's something we're going to talk about a little bit later. And it's very simple. You essentially write a very short script, or you can upload a PowerPoint presentation. I don't expect students to have PowerPoint presentations ready, but your overachievers might have them. And mysimpleshow will automatically populate visuals, which you can then modify, and it's all created using our explainer video engine that is actually fueled by artificial intelligence. And you can visit at mysimpleshow.com. Give us just a second. Well, sometimes the slides will take a second to load, but don't worry, we are going to give them time to load. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our main content, our expert, Emily Cleary. She is a writer, as you can see on the screen, with a background in higher education teaching, tutoring, marketing. She's done it all. She's very knowledgeable in all her areas of expertise. She's currently the content marketing manager for mysimpleshow tool at Simpleshow. She holds a Master of Arts degree in sociology, studied business in her undergrad years. She's world traveled. She knows what she's talking about. She's going to tell you everything you need to know. And if there's anything she doesn't know, we are all on standby here to help you, because as a team effort, we are all amazing people, as I'm sure you are as well. So that being said, I'll go ahead and turn it over. Emily, take it away.
Thank you so much, Mario, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining the webinar. I'm excited to be here. I see people from all over the world, East and West, from New York to Florida to Pakistan to, so many places. It's so exciting to see you all here. I'm actually sitting right now in Berlin, Germany, 10 p.m. here, but that doesn't, change anything. I'm so happy to be here for you all and to give this presentation. All right, just so you know, I am in my flat, so just in case you hear any background noise, please excuse it from the building. I am on a busy street, so you may hear something. At the end of today's webinar, you'll understand aids in teaching students effectively and efficiently, why video caters to different learning styles, and you'll learn ways to use videos inside and outside of the classroom. You'll also learn some tips on the basics of creating a mysimpleshow explainer video for teaching and learning. I did see a question asking if mysimpleshow is free. Yes, we do have a free version, so that is available for you. And we will go and talk about that a bit later. So in order to effectively understand and learn everything I'll be talking about today, I'll first discuss the power of simplicity and explanation, and why video is one of the most efficient ways to communicate. Okay, so how video aids in teaching students the power of simplicity. All right, so I'll start by explaining the power of simplicity, and there are three things that contribute to this. They include, 1, why is simple explanation so important? 2, how do our human brains work, and we need to know that in order to explain something simply. And then 3, I'll go into the 5 rules of simple explanation, specifically with using videos. So, number 1, let's start with this. Why is simple explanation so important? So, firstly, we live in an age of data and information, right? We're in the tech age now, the age of information, really. Information's coming at us from all angles, and we're constantly learning, whether we're inside a classroom or not. And due to technological advancements, the units in which we communicate are generally getting shorter. For example, we can do more in less amount of time. Think about how we used to communicate, like way back when. So we used to spend maybe some hours writing letters to family and friends, all over the world. And then we would go to the post and we would send them off. And then we would wait a few more days for communication to come back from the receiver. But now we can just send an email of the same length in 5 minutes or so. So it's possible for us to send around 10 of these emails per hour. But now, because we are highly connected, which is mostly a great thing, we tend to get distracted too. Based on a Microsoft study, actually, our attention spans have gone from about 12 seconds to only about 8 or 9 seconds, which is actually the attention span of a goldfish, until we start focusing on something else other than what we were focused on to begin with. Maybe you'll see this when you're online. You might have a tab open, and then you open another tab to start browsing something, and another tab, and another tab, and you go from one thing to the next and constantly multitasking. So there's our case in point. We need to be able to give simple, entertaining explanations and attractively convey information in a short amount of time. So that's where simple explanation through videos comes in. So now I want to talk a little bit about explanation versus description. So this is the how versus the why. So before getting into video specifics for teaching and learning, we must establish how to give a great explanation, of course. Sometimes experts are not automatically good at explaining because they have such a high level of knowledge on a topic, and that's understandable. When you've studied something or taught it for so long, you really understand it to its core depths, and maybe you're not so great at explaining it to somebody who really has no idea about the topic, and that's perfectly okay. Because to make messages stay in mind, it's all about the why, which is explaining, and less about the how, which is describing. Luckily, explanation is a learnable skill. So let's take the safety pin experiment. So on the screen, you'll see a safety pin. I have one right here as well. So say you're given this safety pin. Explain this safety pin to someone. Describe it so they can guess what the object is without seeing it. So many times people will start describing it, right? So if you see this safety pin, you'll say, okay, it's metal, it's 4 to 5 centimeters long, it's rounded or bent at the edges. Maybe it's thicker metal on one side and it has a circle at the end on the other side. A lot of people might not understand what it is. They might not be able to guess what you're talking about. But if you tell a story and explain how it's used rather than describing it, people will understand more quickly. So let's go with a personal anecdote. So a few weeks ago, when I was back in Miami, I was running late to work, on Miami time. And one of the buttons on the bottom of my dress shirt fell off because the thread came loose. So maybe it wasn't a great quality shirt, but that's okay. So in a hurry and with no other clean shirt, I used this item to quickly attach both sides of my shirt, tuck it into my pants, and run out the door. And while I was doing that, I pricked my finger a little bit, but it didn't hurt too bad. So it's probably easier to guess exactly what I'm talking about. Oh, that's a safety pin, because I used it in context to tell about what the item is. All right. So number 2, how do our human brains work? What happens in the brain when we take in information? You'll see what I have on screen here. You see all these descriptions from left to right. So if you look at this, text is actually just a sequence of small images. Every letter is a little symbol, a small picture. We put these shapes and lines together to create these letters, essentially, and big little pictures. And you put them together, they form words. And you put the words together, they form sentences. And these words then have a meaning to them, right? We attribute a meaning to them. And then when we read them, we decode them in our heads to make meanings. So it's probably easier to look at this second picture here than to look at the first picture, which I'll go back and show you, which is describing it. So that's text versus visual. So that's how we process the information and decode it in our heads to make meanings. And now number 3, the 5 rules of video explanation. All right, so teaching essentially is explaining and learning is understanding. And video provides a medium to do both of those things and cater the information to the lesson or the topic being taught. So the 5 rules of explanation will further describe how videos use text, images, and storytelling to bring your message across. So, rule number 1, change your perspective. Always, always put your audience first. Like I said, you might be an expert in a subject that you're teaching, but your students are likely not experts. So you need to know exactly where they're coming from, perspective-wise, what prior knowledge they have about the subject, and how to get them interested in the topic that you're teaching about. So a few questions to keep in mind while explaining or writing your story. Put yourself in your viewer's chair. So in what situation are your students or your learners receiving your explanation? In what context do they understand it? What are your students' pains? What are their needs? What are their interests? What motivates them? Why should they be interested in this? What prior knowledge do they have? What's obvious to you, but not your listener? And also, what can you leave out and discuss later? And what information is essential for right now to get your key message across? Rule number 2 is simplify the message. This is easier said than done, like many things in life, especially for experts and seasoned educators with such a wide knowledge base. But sometimes we tend to err on the side of things that thinking everything is important. But sometimes less is better, really, especially when it comes to understanding. And when this happens, more and more information is packed into the explanation, and can overwhelm learners in the process when you're just providing too much at once. So our advice, cut out the clutter from your explanation and make sure you're not watering down the core of the message while doing so. All right, so back to the tips about simplifying your message. Emphasize the why connections before you describe the how. So remember, the explanation is the why and the description is the how. So go step by step using cause and effect to get from the why to the how. This goes back to the explanation versus description bit, like I mentioned from the beginning of this webinar. And lastly, use simple language. Avoid jargon and words that may not be familiar to everyone, technical terms, things of that nature. And if you are going to introduce some terms that are maybe keys to understanding the concept, make sure that you describe them and define them. All right, so rule number 3 is tell a story. So as humans, we love stories. That's how we started communicating, as soon as we were here. They're pleasant for us in regard to providing or receiving explanations because stories entertain and educate. They include emotion, characters, and the message that we want to get across. So the power of storytelling is a great way to hook your students and to get them focused on your message. When telling a story, always keep in mind the starting point. So that's rule number 1, the audience's perspective of what they already know. Create a character and scenarios to make the story relatable and realistic, reminding the learner of a situation that is familiar to them. Also, make sure to use the dramatic arc. So maybe you're wondering what the dramatic arc is, and it's really just a guide to storytelling. So I'll go over the different parts of the dramatic arc here so you understand. So first is topic introduction. So start with a short introduction stating what the video will be explaining. For example, an introduction to literary devices. Starting with the introduction sentence, the viewer knows exactly what to expect in your story, and usually one sentence is plenty. It's all you need. The second step is character introduction. So if you're introducing a character, do it here. Main characters are often introduced in the second scene and then appear throughout the script of a video. So this helps make the story approachable and relatable for the audience. For example, let's say this is Tom or meet Tom. Then go into a little bit more detail about Tom. So Tom is studying poetry in his English class and is currently learning about literary devices. By using storytelling, you create a situation that the viewer can identify with. I'm seeing a lot of people coming in from Pakistan, Egypt, Ukraine, Canada, Australia, Peru, Bolivia, Poland. I just wanted to say hello to you all. And of course, everyone in the US. Thank you all so much for joining. All right. So number 3 is plot point or the problem description. So next, as soon as possible, specify the problem. For example, Tom is getting confused about the different devices. He's a bit shy and doesn't want to seem like he's the only student that doesn't understand. So he does not ask any questions. In this way, you can get to the turning point or the climax quickly and help the viewers follow you. So this is the climax, the plot point. It's the climax of the plot. This is where you need to introduce a solution to the problem. For example, luckily, his teacher, Mrs. Smith, knows this about Tom and sees that he is struggling. She offers to provide him with additional examples and resources during a meeting after class. Starting point of excitement, which is why it should happen within the first few scenes. Next is the main argument. It's the actual description where there's an explanation of the concept, or in this case, any topic or anything like that. To stick to our example, thanks to Ms. Smith offering extra help, Tom can learn the difference between literary devices on a more personal level rather than amongst many other students. Then comes the additional arguments. At this point, a few additional arguments, other features of a product, if you're describing a product in a tech class, or additional information about any subject can be thrown in if necessary. If you don't have any additional arguments, of course, you don't have to include them. But if you do, let's go with our example. Not only will Tom be tutored on the topic using personal and relatable examples, he will feel more comfortable asking questions about what he doesn't understand. Next is the result. So in the recap, you can either sum up the story again without making the video too long, or write a short and happy ending. So let's say at the end of the tutoring session, Tom is relieved. Now he precisely understands each literary device and even starts to use them while talking to other students in the lunch line. And last but not least, it's image, but we do have a call to action. So what that is just something at the end of a video that will let your viewers know what to do next, or your students know what actions they can take to further understand something. So the viewers will be captivated by the video at this point, and once they understand the concept, they may want to know a bit more information about it. So it's always a good idea to end with this call to action. So for example, for more information, or if you're having trouble too, stop by Miss Smith's desk after class. So the dramatic arc helps explain a story in the best way possible, and it also explains a safety pin example that I gave you earlier. All right, rule number 4, so something else to consider is to captivate the imagination of your audience. So in short, use pictures for simplicity's sake. Storytelling plus supporting the story with simple visuals helps guarantee a memorable message. Keep calm, don't worry, you don't have to be any kind of artist to create a powerful image. I'm certainly no artist myself, but I definitely use images when I create videos and tell my stories. Just use basic forms that anyone can recognize. It's often the most basic of images, which can create triggers of a thought or a memory in a learner's mind. So let's say a magnifying glass for the word search, a light bulb for an idea, or a heart to represent love. Symbolic and simple visuals successfully trigger something in the viewer's mind. So let's look at this for example. So you see these numbers on the bottom and the image of a phone. So if someone sees this, no one will really wonder what the numbers on the bottom mean, because the phone icon is on top of it, right? So it means, okay, this is a phone number, call this number. So even though it's an older phone and not a modern or flat cell phone, people still understand. That goes to show that some symbols can be so strong that they cross generational borders, like the save icon on Microsoft programs. So as many of us know, the save icon is a floppy disk. But kids these days in the younger generations probably have no idea what a floppy disk is. But they do know it means saving the document, and they should press Control S every 5 minutes so they don't lose their work. So overall, a good explanation with simple visuals will achieve a strong learning effect. And finally, rule number 5, build confidence. It's important that you leave your audience feeling inspired, interested, motivated, and of course, confident in their own understanding of the subject in question. They should have trust in themselves to continue learning about it and to feel good about it. But the great news is, if you've managed to follow the first 4 rules of simple explanation, then the final rule will sort of take care of itself. So if you've successfully shifted your perspective, simplified your message, told the story, and used images, the learner will feel comfortable with following explanation, and chances are you've done a pretty good job building confidence. And that will definitely make you a better explainer. Okay, so on to our next topic here. So why video caters to different learning preferences? Now that we've gone over how video helps aid in teaching students effectively and efficiently through explanation, we can discuss why video caters to different learning styles. So as educators, as myself being a former educator, Mario as well, when we encounter moments where students don't learn from maybe those who are considered the best of the best of teachers, and maybe other students who learn even when being taught by teachers who maybe aren't considered to be the best of the best, or very new teachers who are still learning themselves, we wonder what exactly is going on, not only with our teaching, but what's going on, behind the scenes with the students. And this is where Fleming and Mills come in. So Neil Fleming and Christopher Mills used that observation as the origin to investigate what really causes differential learning. So they created a questionnaire with 16 questions that tackle a person's learning behavior. And from there, they moved on to the identification of learning preferences each individual has and categorize these preferences based off of that. They believe that understanding how people learn differently can provide more beneficial learning experiences. And then what they came up with after seeing the survey results was differential learning and the VARK model. So I know I've already mentioned it, but differential learning is basically recognizes that students learn differently and caters to student preferences for instruction. And so Fleming and Mills came up with their VARK model. And as any model, VARK is not free of criticism, but to counteract the danger of generalization, VARK only focuses on one dimension of the compound of preferences that compose a learning style. So we will therefore refer to them as learning preferences rather than learning styles. So in regards to learning preferences, I know it says styles there on the screen. There's 4 preferences. There's visual, oral or auditory, reading and writing, and kinesthetic. So visual learners prefer symbols, diagrams and charts. Oral or auditory learners prefer listening and speaking or lectures. Reading and writing learners are satisfied with information displayed in word form. And kinesthetic preferences learn best through tactile and hands-on activities. So what's great about video is that it actually caters to all of these different learning preferences in various ways. So video works with visual learners due to watching the moving images. And in mysimpleshow's case, watching the animated hands on the screen, or if you're making a video, choosing the visuals yourself. Video caters to oral or auditory learners due to the spoken script that becomes the voiceover of the video and just the right amount of subtle background music as well as sound effects. Video caters to those with reading and writing preferences due to writing a script for an explainer video and reading the research behind it in order to write that script, or reading about a subject or whatever it is that you're writing about, as well as reading subtitles on screen if there are any. And video also caters to kinesthetic preferences through video creation in itself. Video creation is a hands-on activity that requires a series of steps to complete a finished product. Fleming and Mills also noticed a multimodality. So they called these type 1 and type 2 learners. So those who were categorized into multimodal learners based on the survey, they did not have a standout mode with one preference scoring well above other scores in regards to the VARK model. And they are defined as modals. So there's 2 learner types. So type 1, text specific, relating to a person changing his or her style according to what is being learned. They choose a single mode to suit the occasion or situation. So maybe, as an example, maybe if someone is learning about science, they prefer to, let's say chemistry, right? They prefer to be a kinesthetic learner because they need to do hands-on activities. Where if they're learning English and literary devices, maybe they just need to read about it and write about it in order to understand. And type 2 regards others who may need input and output in various preferred modes, leading to extended learning periods. So they are not satisfied, this type of learner, until they have had input or output in all of their preferred modes. And type 2 may result in deeper understanding as they take their time to acquire information through different angles. So let's use the same idea for the same example for chemistry. So this type 2 learner might have to do an experiment, a hands-on experiment kinesthetically, also read and write about somebody else who did an experiment. Maybe they have to listen to the experiment while watching a video about it as well in order to really understand what they are doing. And this might take the learner a longer time to really understand, but that's okay because that is how they prefer to do things. All right. So, is to incorporate video inside and outside of the classroom. Okay, I have a few suggestions here, and this is always great because there's always new ways I see people using videos in the classroom. When I was teaching myself, I would actually use videos to introduce topics. I would play a music video in the beginning of class to get the students ready for class and get them motivated. And I taught sociology, so I'd have them search for different sociological perspectives and terms and things that they could look at and concepts within the video. But as far as explainer goes, you can use it in incorporate video as flipped learning. So flipped learning is an instructional strategy and a type of blended learning that reverses a traditional learning environment by delivering instructional content, often online, outside of the classroom. So it moves activities, including those that may have traditionally been considered homework, into the classroom. So an example of flipped learning, if you don't know, would be a teacher is starting a lesson on the Civil War, and they, instead of going over the introduction to the Civil War and who the main players were in class, they will assign watching a video about that as homework, and then they will discuss it in class and do an activity or further talk about it in class instead of just having them watch the video in class. So that is one way to use videos. Blended, flipped learning is a form of blended learning. So blended learning, it's really simple. It actually just combines online digital media with traditional classroom methods. So you'll see this a lot in all grade levels, but really you see it a lot in universities. You have like a multimodal class. It's half online, half in person. So it requires the physical presence of both teacher and student, with some element of the student control over time, place, path, pace. So you can use videos to supplement your blended learning strategies. As microlearning. So microlearning is an emergent learning strategy known for closing skill and knowledge gaps. It provides snackable content that is easily understood because it's just provided a small amount at a time. Hence the word snackable, right? So it seems to be an ideal instructional approach for many situations because, these days information changes quickly. People find it difficult to keep up with things. So if you're teaching maybe a tech class or a class about politics, having, up-to-date videos on current events is a great way to teach. E-learning and virtual teaching. So I don't know if anyone out there is a virtual teacher, but virtual teaching even goes into maybe you're not present for a day at school because everyone gets sick. So it's okay for you to provide a video, maybe to the substitute teacher who will be filling in for you during your holiday, or if you do get sick, or if you are using an LMS like Blackboard, for example. Videos are a great way to provide the content that you need. You can use videos as part of your lesson plan to introduce a topic or to break up a lecture. Students tend to pay more attention if you break up the lecture into bits, so maybe 10 or 15 minutes of lecturing, 5 minutes of a presentation, 5 or 10 minutes of video, and then an in-class discussion or an activity. All right, so as a classroom activity, so there's classroom activities, depending upon the age group. So you can do a group activity explaining something as part of an introduction or an icebreaker. If you want your students to explain their summer vacations, you can have students create videos in the classroom. It's a great way to encourage group work and collaborative learning. You can assign video watching or video creation as homework. It's a fun homework assignment. If maybe they need to read a chapter of a textbook and they need to provide a synopsis of that chapter, provided as a video, you know, or as a book report. You can have students create a video as a supplement to a written book report or in place of a written book report. And also you can use videos for assessment. So you can, you know, have a lecture and then play a video and assess students on that, or you can just play a video and then quiz them on that, or what I like to call maybe like a conversational or like a stop and go video. Say you discuss something with them and you have a video prepared where you can, you have questions sort of set up on the screen. You can play it and then pause it. Give them 5 minutes to write out their answer and then, you know, play the next question. So it's just a different way to assess students. All right. All right, and finally, some tips and tricks for explainer video creation using mysimpleshow. Like I said, just in case you're just tuning in, mysimpleshow, we do have a free model. We are freemium, so we'll get into that in a bit. But just a little bit on how mysimpleshow works. So there's 4 simple steps when creating a video in mysimpleshow. The first step is draft. So after choosing one of the many templates provided from the educational, professional, or personal categories, or uploading a PowerPoint that you already have and having your text extracted automatically, you move into the second step, which is the write step. So you'll either write a new script or perfect your PowerPoint script, which becomes the voiceover of your video in the end. The third step is visualize. Our explainer engine then actually automatically suggests images for the keywords it identifies in your text. And it does this because it is an AI-powered explainer engine, and it uses an algorithm to do this. So thousands of original Simpleshow illustrations will visualize your story, and you also have the option of uploading your own images. And then the fourth step is finalize. So in the free version, you can use the provided text-to-speech tool and then render your video, and it will be finalized. So some quick tips for the write step. So like I said, you know, think about the 5 rules of explanation. Use storytelling when appropriate. Always think about your audience's perspective. Avoid repetitive word choices and general information. Just use simple language. Vary your sentence structure and sentence rhythms. Use transition words. Be mindful of tense, and always make sure to know your key messages. You know, that's what you want to get across. Whatever is the most important is what you need to get across. And some quick tips for the visualize step. So, you know, visualize. Visuals should align with your key words. And once you're in mysimpleshow in the free version, you'll see how those line up. The storyboard canvas should focus on the main message of the scene. You don't need too many images to get your message across. Excuse me. You just need to make sure that it's clear. You don't need to overcrowd. You vary your visual structure, size, combine, and time images accordingly. Upload your own images or ones you like to make personal. Add text on screen and think in symbols. Be creative and have fun. And just keep in mind that images are processed 60,000 times faster in your brain than just text alone. So using symbols and simple images that stay in mind is really, you know, the way to go.
So
yes,
we have a few questions that have been addressed to directly using the green question mark to us. I'd like to handle a couple of those. There are some additional questions in the chat here that we'll be addressing. I'm going to take them in the order that we've received them. I will speak to them on the ability that I'm able to, and maybe Emily, you can chime in as well. So
Great.
The first question we have here is from Laurie Hoffenberg, is how does video help teach students with ADHD? So I'll go ahead and start, and then Emily, you can jump in after. Really, with ADHD students who are high necessity, video allows them several benefits. One is that they can set their own pace, and yes, they can set their own pace and really take time to do their research and figure out what it is they want to do. If they get a little distracted, it's not a problem because everything that they're reading is going to be directly related to the video they are making. And additionally, it's a high stimulus visual medium, so they're constantly watching. There are always visuals popping up. And so it's not a problem for them to be engaged. By simply having the video that they made themselves, they can be proud of that. Their energy is directed towards it, and it's constantly playing. Different icons are popping up. The hand is wiping, so it's very engaging, and it really does keep them engaged. Emily, would you like to chime in on this?
Yeah, I think you've got mostly all of it, Mario. I agree with you. I think that students with ADHD, they often need a little bit more time and care, and creating videos might be something that they really hone in on. It might be super engaging and interesting for them, and they do have the ability to play and pause at their own pace, like you mentioned. So I think having the ability to control the timing of their own learning and the ability to rewind and make sure they really understand the topic, rather than maybe just losing it in an overflow of information provided in a lecture, is really a benefit of video.
All right, let's go to the next question. Also from Laurie, the question is, how does this help students with hands-on based learning needs? So for videos, students with hands-on based learning needs, in my experience, it enables them, of course, there's no visual, there's no physical, things for them to pick up, so it's a little bit more complicated. But by them having that consideration of watching something they create appear on screen, it is definitely beneficial. I feel like the video does help them, obviously not as much as other things, but I definitely feel like students with hands-on based learning needs do benefit from video.
Yeah, Laurie, I agree with what Mario said. Thanks for these great questions, by the way. Hands-on based learning is kinesthetic, and it's kinesthetic learning preference. And creating the video is hands-on. You are something product that's your own, and once you have the finished product, it's something that is valuable and something that you can feel proud of. So I think that definitely contributes to, hands-on based learning needs.
All right, let's see the next question here. So the question is, sorry, give me 1 second. I'm trying to get my screen to show everything. What is the best time duration for any video to create? An example, active video presentations in order to simplify the topics. Emily, do you want to speak about what is the ideal time for a video?
Yeah, thank you for your question. I would say that, normally video should be ideally no longer than 2 minutes. Because our attention spans are have really decreased over the years due to technological advancements, you need to really hone in the viewer within the first 10 seconds, if so. If not, within the first 30 seconds, or maybe your viewer will start to move onto something else. Using mysimpleshow, the maximum video time is about 3 minutes. So, we help with that. We have word counts and everything like that, so your video is not too long, and so you can really get your key message across. And if you need to provide information that's further than 2 or 3 minutes, you just make multiple videos, so it's nothing to worry about. But yeah, provide that snackable content, that micro learning, in order for the messages to stick.
All right, let's see our next question here. This next one, I believe, is a bit of a doozy. Have you had success using this method teaching math? Personally, I was never a math teacher, so I can't speak with this regard. I have spoken with math teachers that said that sometimes for complex topics, simplifying it to just the raw basics and making a short video out of it, or even doing a classroom presentation, a little PowerPoint slides with just the simplified basics. Of course, there's always going to be questions and more, and math is very complicated. But by just reducing any major topic, whether you're talking about addition or multiplication or even something more complex like algebra, by having just the intro primer video, giving them the the basics of what is this mathematical topic. And then once that has been shown and they've had a chance to watch it a few times and really get the core, then you can model and do your teacher things and really show the complexities of the mathematics beyond it. But as an introduction to the topic, absolutely, it serves math.
Right. I agree with Mario on that one. I've also never taught math, Lesley, but I would add to what Mario had to say. And I would say that I think it would be great for word problems. If you have a problem that sort of has a story within it, introducing that problem, with a video and having just a few scenes and then getting to your main problem, it would be a great way to help engage students while teaching math.
All right, let's see here. Next question is going to be one of a repeat. Could you repeat the finding regarding the timing of processing symbols versus words? Could you leave me to cite that source? Emily, you want to take this one?
Sure. Yeah, I can send a citation in the chat. Excuse me. And the timing of processing symbols versus words. So are you talking about the brain processes images 60,000 times faster than it processes text alone because of the way the brain looks at images. I think that's what you're talking about, and I will send a citation after we're done with the Q&A session.
Okay. So I have a follow-up here from Laurie Hoffman Goldberg that has a concern about video being overstimulating for students. I personally, in my experience, I don't find that the simplified videos are overstimulating. Yes, there are videos that are going to be overstimulating for students, the ones with lots of flashy, different animations, lots of colors. But the beauty of My Simple Show is that it uses just the black and white spectrum and basic images. Because there are hands moving and icons are coming up, it should not be overstimulating for them. Because they are able to set their own pace, there's actually a limitation on the tool of how many images you can have per scene. So there are both soft and hard limits on the overstimulation for students with ADHD and attention disorders. Let's see.
I agree with you on that one, Mario.
Okay, let's see. Let's do this one. Is there any verifiable connection to improving educational outcomes for struggling readers, and any evidence that it improves their reading? This is a tough one. I don't have the research. I'm not sure if the research has been completed. Maybe Emily can speak a little bit about this.
Yeah, I also don't have any research on this on me right now. Is there any verifiable connection to improving educational outcomes for struggling readers? I would say that it does help improve their reading, because not only, if you're creating videos, not only do you have to read about the subject that you are writing about, you have to do the research. So you have to understand it, which is the hardest part, I think. And you have to be able to transfer for that into a script where there are word count limitations. So that comprehension skills are definitely enhanced when creating videos because of the text limits that we have in the tool.
So yeah, Emily, do you know of any available terms of medium for sample works for us to view? Do you know of anywhere we can see some My Simple Shows that people have already created?
Yes, of course. On our website, www.mysimpleshow.com. If you go to the examples section, you will see tons of different videos on our website.
Yep. Also on YouTube, as being mentioned on the attendee chat as well. They're all over the place. Yeah,
exactly. We have user videos, and we have also My Simple Show created videos from our side on YouTube.
And I'm finishing up the questions here, then I'll dive back into the chat to take a few more questions, and then we'll start gearing towards the end here. One last question here. Would you use this method over having students take hand notes in the K through 5 level? I don't have a lot of experience in the K through 5 level, so I personally don't know if I'm qualified to answer this question. Emily, I don't know if you have anything to chime in.
Hey, Yolanda. I also don't have any experience teaching K through 5 level, but what I would say is I think having students, the students need to have a sense of how to write decently. So maybe, K through 3 is not the ideal group for creating these videos. For watching them, yes, absolutely. But grades 4 and 5, I think it would be great to have them create videos as a supplement, because I think, obviously learning to take hand notes is super important. But definitely creating these videos as supplemental instruction and supplemental learning for those students is a great idea, because they learn so many additional skills from creating these videos.
One more question here. Sandy Wise from Georgia said, have you considered an annual competition for My Simple Show videos? Emily?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that one, Mario?
Yes, the question was, have you considered an annual competition for students using My Simple Show? And that question is from Sandy Wise from Georgia. Hi, Sandy.
Hey, Sandy. We do have some social media contests that we do. For the annual contest, I guess it would just have to be set up between, schools, and I don't know if it would be statewide or nationwide, but we do have competitions on set up on our Twitter account and our Facebook account that we host.
All right, and kind of going through, let me see. Jacqueline Randolph from New Jersey says, I need to explain Native Americans to a 4th grade class. How long should a video run to maintain engagement? Emily?
Hey, I think this question is similar to one we had earlier, and I think about the videos that we can create in My Simple Show are about up to 3 minutes or so is the longest one. But I would say if you can get the information down to 2 minutes, do so. There's a lot to explain about Native American history, so I would suggest having multiple videos that are around 2 minutes, maybe even less, depending on what you're explaining, and showing them, in the students in that manner, just having a few videos to show them.
All right, so we have about 5 minutes left. I don't want to run over time. I know people have places to be and things to do, so I'll go ahead and just wrap up. As I say, thank you very much, Emily, for doing this webinar and letting us know what My Simple Show is and how it can help us. As you know, as I said before, Emily is a former educator, and she's right now content and marketing manager for My Simple Show. So she's very knowledgeable in both the education field as well as the field of My Simple Show, and anything that what it's good for and how it can help you. So, Emily, do you want to take this one?
Sure. Yeah, Mario. Thanks. Yeah. So like we said, just in case you missed it in the beginning, My Simple Show is an online DIY explainer video creation tool, and it's perfect for anyone in education or related industries. We have a freemium model, so we offer a free version and paid subscriptions with more features, and I'm just going to share my screen quickly with you. Great. So I hope you can see my screen right now. This is our homepage. You can go ahead and sign up for free right here. Just click on Create Your Simple Show now. And then I know somebody asked us about examples before. You'll see all the examples here. And, there's actually one about explaining a mathematical formula. And then our pricing page. You will see all the options that we have. We have the free model. We do offer in euros and US dollars, and in monthly and yearly billing cycles. So we have several models here to choose from, with all the options on the bottom to show you exactly what we can offer you. So let me stop sharing my screen here so we can go back. And we do have a discount code for you all. Okay, so like you saw, we have multiple options for any type of user. So you'll see that we do have this 20% off discount code on screen. It's good for any paid model, and it's active from today until December 6th. So 1 month from now, you can go ahead and sign up with that if you are going to purchase a subscription plan. The code is MyEDU20 with the exclamation point. And keep in mind that the 20% discount is good for the first billing cycle. So if you choose 1 month, it's good for the first month. And if you choose 1 year, it's good for the first year. Okay. And then one last thing that I do want to mention, we have a nonprofit as well called the Simple Show Foundation. And we have a volunteer initiative. It's a great opportunity for, enrichment, for volunteer hours, for service hours, for resume building, depending on what level that you teach. So in partnership with the United Nations System Staff College, Simple Show Foundation has created the volunteer initiative. And our aim is to help explain the Agenda 2030 and the 17 Sustainable Development Goals there are to make the world a better place. And we want to do this by providing free knowledge created through My Simple Show videos about relevant topics. And you can see and find out more information by going to the Simple Show Foundation website. It's posted in the chat. And yeah, it's a great opportunity for enrichment and to create just knowledgeable videos for everyone around the world. So I would like to thank everybody for coming and joining the webinar today. Thank you for having me and for tuning in. And go ahead, Mario.
Sure. I'll go ahead and close things up here. Yes, so thank you to our presenter, Emily. As I said before, mysimpleshow.com. You can find Emily on Twitter at mysimpleshow, and as I said, mysimpleshow.com. You can give us a feedback on this webinar by going to the tiny URL at the bottom. It's very tiny, so small, very short. And yes, as a reminder at the very beginning, if you're sticking around at this point, it's because you want to know about your CE certificate. You will be mailed your certificate on the next business day after this webinar ends. If you have pre-registered and you logged in today with your email address. If you're watching this as a recording after, then you can take the CE quiz to earn your certificate by going to the community edweb.net/video, going to the archives and selecting the ed webinar you watched. And yeah, there you go. So edweb.net, check them out. They are amazing. There's lots of great resources for teachers, for people of all kinds. And if you have any questions, hopefully we'll see you, tweet at us, follow us, send us emails. We're very eager, and we hope My Simple Show helps you. Thank you to Emily. Thank you to everyone. May I say, from 31 states and 14 countries, this has been absolutely thrilling to be speaking with people all over the globe. Yeah, I think that's it for me, and that's it for our team. Hope everyone has an excellent day, and hope to see you in the future on My Simple Show.